Hey, everybody on YouTube, what is going on as we kick off another night of beautiful radio programming for all you lovely people out there? The gorgeous and talented Brad Olsen is our guest tonight. Now, Brad hasn't been a guest on this show in, I'm going to say, about 4.5, 5 years, but I mean, that's way too long for a gentleman of his caliber to not be on our show. So I'm going to take fault for that. I will, because, I mean, not only is Brad very, very knowledgeable, but he's got great hair as well. He really does have nice hair. And before we bring on Brad, let's give a rundown of everybody who is in our chat room so far. Mike L., welcome in the gold medal position. In the silver, we have Solaire and James Horn winning the bronze tonight. Gorgeous Renee, good to see you. Hello, lovely Steph Dickey. Worsley, good to see you. Hey, the Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton. Mary Bone, everybody, she's a vegetarian. Mary Bone. Mondak, how are you? System Failure, good to see you. Dirty Filth, thanks for coming on in. Hey, Chris Jarvis and Rican, good to have you guys here. About Art, thank you for joining us tonight. Mark Salzman and Boz Monster, always a pleasure to have you here. Hey, Lance, how you doing? Lance, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show just outside the studio here, so make sure you line up on the right. Looney, good to see you. Welcome back. As we continue on, Sassy Sandra, thank you for joining us again and again. Race Fan, hey, you're back again. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Steve Stockton from KPNL, thank you for taking the time to be here with us again, my friend. Gorgeous Becky Belling, always a pleasure to have you here. So we continue on, scrolling down. The Philip Matlock is here, everyone. Make sure you give him a round of applause. Ben from UFO Garage, good to see you. Hey, Den Bub and Millennium, thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. As we continue on, Stu Gerson, everyone. Stu Gerson is here, everyone. Stu will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up on the left. Hey, Chris Reap and Richard Elmore. Good to see you guys. Princess Denali, you are looking very royal tonight. Thank you for joining us. And we scroll on down. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so yet. And Brian Smith, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hey, Project Blue Book and Mr. Apnea, good to see you awake. Michael Leger, the Michael Leger is here, everyone. Zachary Lancaster, welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning us in. Hey, Cedric, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Hi, gorgeous Dolly. Thank you for coming on in. The lovely and talented Lala is back, everyone. John Swan, good to have you here. Polar Eclipse and Prairie Fire, how are you? Stuart Blodwell, thanks for coming on in. Justin, good to see you. Hey, Corey Foote, I'm surprised you took time out of the Hallmark Channel to join us tonight. The Hallmark Channel. You're addicted, just so you know. Yes, you are. The gorgeous and talented Emily Bigelow, otherwise known as Alaska's greatest athlete. Make sure you give her a round of applause tonight before the show starts, because she needs it. Mental Pancakes, welcome to the show. Freedom of Thought, thank you for joining us. Aiden and Annie, good to have you here. Awesome, Annie. Raul, thank you for coming on in. Kings of Kvist, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Focus. How are you? Welcome. Mirror Person, thanks for joining us. And where are we here as we scroll on down? The Dirty Road, welcome back. And yeah, I think we're caught up. Brad, how you doing, man?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great. Nice to be back on Spaced Out Radio with you. And yeah, my hair's growing real long because of COVID, we can't get haircuts here in California. Well,
beautiful.
At least not until about a week ago.
Just leave it. You're going to look much prettier by the time it's all said and done. You know, you got that California dreamy look right now, my friend. California dreamy. We're going to get going on the radio show here in just over about a minute and a half. And we want to say hello, Thomas Roberts. Welcome to our channel for the first time. Enjoy yourself. Mr. Wu, thank you for joining us for some Wu. And Sir Wolf, good to see you again. And who else we got here? We're caught up there. I always like to say hello to everyone. I mean, it's important, man. I mean, these are people who are taking the time to spend with us. So I always like to make sure I give a quick shout out and hello to everyone. And a good way for supporting this show, everyone, is by giving us a thumbs up or thumbs down, by hitting the subscribe button. We would like to get 15,000 subscribers by May 24th. We're just under 4,500 away. So your help by sharing this show, talking about us, will lead people there. And the super chat is open. So if you feel like super chatting, super chat away. And if you want some Spaced Out Radio swag, go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We got some great swag up there for you. We're going to get going here in just a few seconds. Hey, Paul Holland, how's tomorrow looking? From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you wish to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Now, many of you know the name of Brad Olsen. If you don't, you're in for a real treat tonight. Brad is the author of numerous books, including 3 in his Esoteric Series: Modern Esoteric, Future Esoteric, and Beyond Esoteric. He's an award-winning author, book publisher, and event producer. He's had keynote presentations at all the major conferences, including Contact in the Desert, UFO Mega Con, and the 5D events, and dozens of radio and television shows. This guy is wanted everywhere. Brad's esoteric writing continues to reach a wide audience while he continues groundbreaking news in alternative journalism, public speaking, illustration, and photography. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we're going to play something a little bit different. We're going to play the Magic 8 Ball. Normally we go to Vancouver. We're not going to Vancouver tonight for the shift, but we're going to play the Magic 8 Ball with you. So if you're in our chat rooms, you'll enjoy that. And we'll get to the Newswire and the Thought of the Day. So stay tuned. Brad Olsen, it's been way too long since we've had you on Spaced Out Radio, man. But I am so glad you're back. How you been?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great. And yeah, it's been that long because it took me that long to come out with this third and final book in the Esoteric Series called Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. And I saw the thought of Dave today that you were putting out that question: what is Prison Planet and how do we escape from it? And I would love to hear your answer to that, and I'll be happy to give mine, as it is the subtitle of my new book.
Man,
doing great, and so great to be back.
I have no idea how to even answer that, because there are so many different riddles that go along with that. I mean, you could go the political realm that says, everything that we are thinking or that we've been taught is really a bunch of garbage, and we're being held against our will. We just don't know it. Or we could say it on a cosmic scale that maybe we're too immature to go play in the cosmos with the rest of the aliens. I don't even know how to take that, Brad.
Wow, I got your tongue twisted already, Dave. That's a rarity. But, well, you could look at it in many ways. I mean, InfoWars and Alex Jones has been using Prison Planet for a long time and always thought it a fascinating concept of what exactly does that mean. Could be what you just said. It may be that we are quarantined from reaching out to our space brothers above. I mean, this is Spaced Out Radio, and these are questions that we should ponder here.
Well, we're going to get we're going to get into it. I want to know your opinion, though. What do you think it is?
Yeah, well, yeah, and to me, it is the matrix that has kept us locked in this box, not only on this planet, but in this Western model of what we perceive our society and civilization has become. it has withheld many subjects to humanity, and that has been the course of my last decade, is chronicling all them in this 3-book series, which taken together is close to 1,400 pages, all original material in all 3 books. And all of them kind of answer that question about what is Prison Planet by suggesting that so much has been withheld from us, information wise, who we are as people, antediluvian civilizations, to what is our role in this universe and how can we make that connection with our space brothers and sisters from above. So I think about it a lot, and I love it when I start a show and we can talk with the host about their interpretation of what it means.
Oh, goodness. Brad, we could go in so many different directions with that. I want to introduce you to our audience because it's been a while since you've been on this show, and we've expanded quite proficiently since you were last on a number of years ago. But for people who don't understand who you are, what you're all about, how did you get into all of this? And when you started writing books, why did you choose this subject, which is so necessary, but so far out of reach for so many people to understand?
Well, I try to write my books so everybody can understand and make it accessible to all, to try to delve into very complex questions and speak in a layman's term. How I got started was I grew up in the Midwest in the suburbs of Chicago and was in Boy Scouts and loved to take our trips. And right when I finished college, I was really wanting to travel some more. I didn't want to go straight into a career like so many of my classmates. So I made my own money, as I have for all my trips, self-financed, 3 months to Europe. And I thought I was so cool because I was one of the only Americans over there in the late 80s. But meeting other Brits and Kiwis and Australians, and I'd be so proud of myself. Well, I'm on the road for 3 months, self-financed. And they'd be like, 3 months, mate? We've been on the road for 3 years. I said, well, how do you do that? And work your way around the world, mate. Go in one direction, keep on going. So I took that to heart and finally got a job, went over to Japan, solo once again. Couldn't get anybody to go with me, and started teaching English in Kyoto, Japan for 14 months. And then I self-financed my own 3-year trip around the world. And when I started that trip, I started writing my first book called World Stompers, A Global Travel Manifesto. And that is still in print. And that is how I began my travel writing career. Many books later, including the Sacred Places series of books, led me to these esoteric subjects, because when I was treating them in my Sacred Places books, I'd get to a location, for example, the Great Pyramid. I give it about 4 or 5 page treatment in the book, but having been there and knowing so much about it and reading many books that are so esoteric about what this monument was really built for, that I had to put it together into a wider treatment of what these sites been. And I've been traveling my entire adult life. I just came back from South America and Antarctica 2 years ago. In fact, 2 years ago to this day, I was sailing back across the Drake Passage. And I know that because the day we left Antarctica was Super Bowl Sunday. So I have this great perspective of travel. I love Canada, been there several times. And might be coming up your way to Alaska. That was my plan during COVID, was to travel up to Alaska via Canada. But
you'd have to drive by.
As far as I know, the border.
You'd have to drive right by my house for that, right?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to hang out and have a beer if I do.
Oh yes, Canadian beer, for sure, for sure.
Bats.
Well, you know what? We can definitely make sure that you're going to need a pit stop on the way driving. So how about we when you do that, we bring you out into the forest and we try and find Bigfoot and some aliens.
Well, that would be a great episode of Spaced Out Radio. say we find it, because they're up in BC too, right?
Oh, they're in
That's
my
kind of the
area.
home of Bigfoot.
They are in my area. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Brad, for you having this life-changing experience, do you remember the moment when you all of a sudden realized there was more to this planet than what recorded history had been telling us?
Oh yeah, I sure did. And really, that pivotal moment was when I laid my eyes on the Great Pyramids in Egypt, as well as so many other amazing monuments, Angkor Wat to the Taj Mahal, India monuments. But really, the Great Pyramid, it just is so different from anything else you'd ever see, even other pyramids, such as in Central America and elsewhere. And going inside it and seeing the Grand Gallery and the internal chambers and the huge megalithic stones it took to create these internal chambers, then reading more about how it has these properties as a machine, both as a ram pump and also for perhaps the construction it's using water in channels, and just realizing there's so much more to this than we're being told. While I travel around Egypt, just getting more of that sensation that we're not getting the full story here, and realizing that so much of this has been withheld from us. So, fast forward to many years later, I know Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Hatcher Childress, two of the stars of Ancient Aliens. I've been on that show a couple episodes. I was driving one day with a David Childress is also a book publisher, and his wife Jen Baum. We picked up Giorgio. I know those guys before they were famous, and Giorgio pitched Ancient Aliens to David in that drive. So it's good to see that all this is starting to get out there in a bigger way, and the History Channel has had Ancient Aliens on now for 12 seasons, and they're renewing for more. I mean, people just can't get enough of this, Dave, and I suspect that's why Spaced Out Radio has done so well. We're hitting on the vein that people really want to understand this stuff, and these shows like yours and Ancient Aliens and my books really help people with the big picture here, and that is so much has been denied us as a human race to know exactly who we are and where we come from.
And I would agree with you on that, Brad. And, you know, I think it's only going to get bigger because as we draw closer to any type of potential disclosure, you know, UFOs, when you got started, even when I got started just a few short years ago, UFOs were still a topic to laugh at. You know, and now all of a sudden in the last 3 years, we're finding out, and the mainstream public especially is finding out that we may not be alone. And a lot more people are starting to pay attention, which brings ratings to all of these UFO type shows like Ancient Aliens again. And they start looking for more research. I mean, you've had to benefit from that.
Well, I sure have. And the other thing are the conferences just keep getting bigger and bigger, and more people wanting to come, and they're selling out. Of course, COVID hit and many got canceled, but they're starting to come back right now. I'm going to my first one this year, next month, the 5D event in Las Vegas, and the third weekend of March. And there was another one. Unfortunately, I was double booked, but at the same time in Sedona. So they're starting to happen again, and people want to get out and see this stuff, and they like to put the face to the name and get a signed copy of the book. So the virtual conferences were great and all, but it's just not the same. And I know some of the bigger ones like Contact in the Desert, which I'm going to do, is virtual this year, and that's in California. But you go outside California and Arizona or Nevada, and they're cool with it. Somehow the virus knows not to infect those conferences, but man, it knows here in California.
Oh,
not good.
Same here, man. Same up here in British Columbia. And, you know, we could do a whole show on COVID, but we're not here to talk about that because people are already bummed out enough in regards to it. But I do want to ask you one COVID question. How has it changed your game plan with how things have gone the last 13, 14 months?
Well, I haven't really let it slow me down too much. I've traveled quite a bit in 2020. And while certain things that I do for a living, such as producing the How Weird Street Fair, got canceled last year, only 6 weeks out, and unclear if we're even going to be able to do it this year in the fall. It's a springtime event, certainly not this May. It had thrown my game off in that regard, but I also used the time to finish Beyond Esoteric, which was percolating for many years and needing to get done. And I'm very glad I used the time, the downtime, when I didn't have to do my other regular work around the street fair event. And we were looking at doing even other ones outside of San Francisco. But that all got shut down. So when given lemons, make lemonade, I guess. And that worked out well for me. And then I just didn't let it stop me from doing what I love to do. And that is jumping in my Toyota 4Runner and going to hot springs on my way out to visit friends in Arizona, or going skiing up in Lake Tahoe, and just living my life, because I realize this thing is not going to control me. It controls a lot of other people and how they have to deal with their life. But yes, it's been inconvenient at times, and I'm certainly not one to be getting that Franken jab, but nonetheless, other people will, and we're seeing how divided people are getting over this thing. So it's a double-edged sword. I hope this thing goes away pretty soon, but some part of me thinks it's going to go on for a while. What's your take?
You know what? I'll tell you, I'm not a disease denier. Okay, I don't get my information from the mainstream media. My cousin happens to be one of the top disease specialists in Canada,
Yeah.
and if I have any questions, I go directly to him. I've learned, and it's unfortunate that I have to tune out a career that I love in media because I'm just not trusting the message that is getting out there very much. But you know what's scary to me right now is a couple of things. And number one, when COVID became political, I thought we were in trouble. But when the mask became a fashion statement, I knew we were in real trouble. But the other thing that's bothering me, and like I said, I don't want to talk too much about this. The other thing that's bothering me about this entire topic with COVID, and I've known people who have had it. I've known people who have had very, very slight cases, and I know people who have almost passed away. I'm fortunate that I don't know anybody who has died from it, but I have friends who have, and who've lost loved ones to this. But the one thing that I'm finding very scary overall, Brad, with this entire phenomena is how everyday people are more than willing now to turn people into the police, to turn people into the newspapers or the radio stations for not abiding by the rules, so to speak. And to me, that is just so scary in looking back at history to see how a lot of these concepts and these brainwashing ideas have happened over the years, that I'm scared for people right now, not because of the disease, but because of the way we are treating people. And I'm not impressed with the way we're treating our fellow citizens right now, that we're okay to rat them out to the police if a business isn't abiding by the mask laws, or in every province or state or country has their own laws. And I'm saying that everybody should abide by them. But I mean, the fact that we are feeling, or there's a population of the citizens who feel comfortable in ratting out their own citizens. There's a real long line in history of countries and citizens who have done that, and it's never turned out very positive.
I'm with you there. That is one of the most frightening things. And what happened to our humanity when that happens? It just harkens back to the fascist dictatorships under Nazi Germany, or communist China. Remember in the movie The Last Emperor, there were the kids that were narking out their parents. the young communist kind of thing. So it never ends well. You're absolutely right. And just remember the humanity, people, that we're all people living our lives, and some do and some don't. Look, the
But
whole nature of taking the vax is you're going to protect anyone else, and you're not going to be able to get it. So you shouldn't be too concerned if other people don't.
Well, here's the other thing about it, though. Okay, like I'm someone where I will wear a mask because I don't want any drama. That's the biggest reason why. Do I believe they work? I have questions. I'm not saying they don't, but I have questions. And if it makes people more comfortable around me, I totally agree with wearing one, as much as I fight it because I have a nice beard and I'm not foregoing my beard for, a mask, because my beard is lovely. It really is. But I mean, that's neither here nor there, as I try and make a little fun of the whole situation. But the idea that we have to take things into our own hands, and we are moving against other citizens. Once again, I do want to preface this, Brad, because I know this is kind of a topic we haven't really gone down on this show yet, but I am not a COVID denier. I want to say that very loudly, because people in this field, they will change your words in a heartbeat to only hear what they want to hear. I am not a COVID denier. My cousin is one of the top doctors and disease specialists in Canada. That is who I get my information from. I do not get my information from the media or any place like that. But I mean, people still should, though, no matter what, try and at least respect the laws. I mean, I think that's the big thing, because everybody, there's two ways people always act in these things. They either run to and become a tattletale, or they run because they're going to play the tough guy or the tough girl, where nobody's going to tell me what to do. It's like my sister. My sister is a smoker who thinks she could smoke anywhere. It doesn't matter. And, she'll always say, nobody's going to tell me where I smoke. Well, she went and traded in her car, and she couldn't understand how the cigarette smoke in her car dropped the value of her car by a couple $1,000s. Trying to explain that to her, still doesn't get it. Nobody's going to tell me where to smoke, but we have that part of the environment as well, Brad.
Yeah, that's right. And just get down to it. It's to each his own, and live and let live, really. So, yeah, I didn't want to talk about it either. And I'm not a COVID denier. I know people who have got it as well. I just think the reaction to it has been really over the top and goes beyond the pale of what was really necessary. Remember, we were told in the first couple weeks, we're just going to flatten the curve. It should be over early April. Yeah, here we are, still in it.
I just want the borders to open up so I could get to Vegas, man. That's what I want. I will do whatever
next month.
I will do whatever it takes to get my butt to Vegas. That's all that I want to do, man, is start partying down in Vegas again, because Lord knows I need it. If anybody needs it, I need it, and I'm bringing a party with me. So that's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with. Brad, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because when we come back from the break, we're going to learn all about esoterics. What are they about? What does it actually mean? And I think a lot of us will be educated by this, as Brad Olsen is our guest tonight. You can find all of his books in major bookstores and on Amazon. His website is Brad Olsen with an E on the end.com, bradolsen.com. Highly suggest you check it on out. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this, so stay tuned. All right, man, we're clear. We are clear. YouTube can still hear us, just so you know. Are you there, Brad? Oh, you walked away. That's okay. You go ahead.
Just making a run to the bathroom.
Yeah, you go. I'll hang out with the people here. Hi, little Richie G. Look how thin you're looking on camera compared to me, buddy. Don't give me that I don't look thin. Dude, I'm like two of you right now. Two of you. Mm-hmm. Two of you. That slib was for Slib Tinskin, our listener, not Goofon. Had you on the big screen at home tonight, Richie. Hey, Armando, how you doing? Swan Man, thank you for joining us. Gorgeous Larry Schultz, good to see you. You better not be, G. You totally better not be. The gorgeous and talented Jennifer Richardson Elizalde, everyone. Let's make sure we give a clap for her tonight. Noble Patrick, good to see you. That's the furthest I've gone on COVID on this show yet.
Well, I like changing it up.
Mm-hmm. One of my comments on Twitter here from John, well said, Dave, I agree. Snitches used to get snitches. Now they're positive reinforcement from all kinds of people. Yep. Yeah, I don't like that. People ratting out people. Not that this is prison or anything like that, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't get people right now. Don't get people. By the way, if anybody is keeping score at home, right now outside my studio, it is minus 20 degrees Celsius and snowing. That's minus 4 Fahrenheit if you're counting in American. And we have an extreme cold warning. So that should bring the temperature down. What is the wind chill factor here? Is it going to give me the wind chill factor here? Precipitation. What is the wind chill factor here? Let me just check here. Extreme colds and chill values down to minus 40 to 45 overnight through Thursday. That's going to get cold. That's where it really hurts. I was talking to little Richie G before the show, and it's kind of cool because for people who haven't been in this type of cold before, let me tell you, the minute you take a breath in your nose and you go, all of your nose hair immediately gets icicles on it. And when you breathe out, you can actually feel the ice building in your nose. It's kind of cool. Freaky, but cool at the same time. Hi, Nikki. How you doing? Mm-hmm. Nearly 75 degrees in Houston. That's t-shirt and shorts weather right there. Paul Holland, my country was Britain's prison planet for criminals and political activists a couple hundred years ago. Oh, there he is, everyone. Sing away with me. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Bee's Nest, how you doing? Redheaded Lisa, thank you for joining us. From Singapore, the lovely and talented Ibarata is back. Brad Olsen is our guest tonight, everyone. So if you're just tuning on in, we're having a great show tonight. Hey, Trust, how are you? Let's see here. We got about 1 minute, Brad.
All right.
Yeah. Hi, gorgeous Kira. How are you? Nick Madrid, Spain. Just so you all know, if there is any buffering or anything going on, it's a little cold here, so my internet is kind of at times going in and out, but we should be good. No wires have gone down yet. Just knock on wood there. Okay, 30 seconds. Big thank you to Cat Chaser, Liliopatra, gorgeous Steph Dickey, and Super Dolly for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much for your love of Spaced Out Radio. Really appreciate it. 128 people currently viewing. Do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down, whatever you feel. And if you're new, please hit that subscribe button. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. You may recognize his name from features on television shows like Ancient Aliens. Brad Olsen is here, award-winning author. His website, bradolsen.com, if you want to check it out. Brad, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Dave. Great to be back on with you again. It's been way too long.
I know. It's been like 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It's still way too long. Hey, Brad.
5 years.
I want to ask you, my friend, because a lot of people may not understand what the word esoteric means and how it comes into this whole mythological, supernatural, paranormal world that we're all chasing.
Right. And we should all understand our terms. Esoteric simply means select few have information that the rest of us don't. When the rest of us do understand this information, the nature of the word changes to exoteric. So the esoteric is that which is guarded and hidden and kept from the rest of us. And this is a period known as the Great Awakening, and much of what has been hidden is now being revealed. With the advent of the internet some 20 years ago, we've had the great luxury of being able to research just about any subject that you have an interest in. So it's not that these things have been hidden in the last couple of years, because it's coming out, although now we're dealing with censorship. But there was a golden age when a lot of this information, also pertaining to UFOs and extraterrestrials and all the things you talk about on Spaced Out Radio, Dave, these are esoteric subjects. And taken together, I find them to be the most interesting subjects that we can endeavor to learn about. Because not only do we learn about ourselves, we learn about the world in which we live in, and so much of that history has been kept from us. So these controllers who like to control that flow of information, they're starting to see that they have a real foe, in so much that when people do wake up, you can't put them back in the box again. Once you start seeing through this stuff, then the lid is open. Then it's a Pandora's box experience, and people will not change back to the old ways. And the controllers know that. So they're putting a lid on it. And I like to quote that censorship is the final form of tyrants when they're at their last gasp. It's a total desperation move. It's a Hail Mary when you have to start taking down people's channels or deleting their profiles from social media. And that should just tell you that we have the sights over the target, because they're getting pretty desperate to keep us in that controlled state. But I believe it's too late. We're already out. That the drip, drip, drip of disclosure, so to speak, has now become a steady flow. And it's going to just break the dam wide open here in the not too distant future. So that's why I include information about ufology, extraterrestrials, most especially in the second book in the series, Future Esoteric, which I think we were discussing the last time I was on 5 years ago. Although we took a break for 5 minutes, but it's been that long, Dave.
Just keep rubbing that in. I apologize already. I apologize. You know, it's the Canadian in me now. I'm going to have to apologize all night long. Brad, you know, there's a lot of people out there researching this subject, whether they have government sources or experiencer sources or educational sources, whatever their sources may be. How do you go about getting your information and clearing it so it comes out as what you believe to be the truth?
Right. And great question. Well, I'm a voracious reader. I'm reading all the time, every day. I'm also editing other people's works. All of Leo Zagami's books that published through CCC Publishing, I'm the editor on or wrote the forward to, and other authors, which your listeners can go to cccpublishing.com and see the other authors I published too, who do some great stuff. It also has to do with my travel experience. I've now been to all 7 continents. I have a world perspective in that regard, and I do believe that when you put yourself in a position to actually witness and see things around the world, you do gain a new perspective just by being there. So when I did my travel guides, especially my sacred places around the world, North America and Europe guide, always made a point of having good, accurate travel directions for people to go to these sites themselves. Feel very strongly on that because it's been so good for my perspective and given me new insights into what's going on in the world and what's out there, and knowing that there is so much going on each continent, even Antarctica. You wouldn't think, but it is a very lively place, most especially with wildlife that never sees humans. So they're very tame. They'll come right up to you. We had whales swimming under our boat. We had penguins. You could go right up to them, so on and so forth. It's a beautiful thing to see the world as a fairly young man and to have a perspective that I can then parlay into my books. So what I do when I'm putting these books together, Dave, is I try to collect data points. So some things that are unexplained or we've heard many different perspectives on. I'll use the example of the Roswell crash. So we get the basic profile of what happened in 1947. And you get perspective from the farmer, the rancher Brazel, who picked up the debris. You get perspective from the newspaper that reported on it. You get the perspective of the Army who went out to collect the debris and change their story. And then that story changed many times. It went from swamp gas to crash test dummies were the aliens, and every one of them sounds really unbelievable. But then on the other bell curve, let's say, as we're plotting these data points, you have some other authors who claim that they were Japanese UFOs or German UFOs. They were very much human made, but that's usually resigned to just 1 or 2 authors. So if you follow the data points in the top of the bell curve where you have all these similar accounts of what it was and who the passengers were, you can come to the conclusion that that's typically the picture that is how it really was. So there was a crash and there were non-human entities in there. And that comes from many, many different eyewitnesses and other accounts that come through the ages. So I basically tried to piece these stories together in such a way that I'm kind of giving the collective wisdom of what is known up to this point on how I can report on this and try to put it in a cohesive narrative.
In doing that, where do you get your sources from? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. Are you at the point where you have, whether it's government officials or scientists at universities coming up to you, Brad, and saying, "Hey, we need to talk about some of these subjects," or are you still digging deep in the trenches in order to find that lead and following that lead right to the very end?
I do have sources. I have people that are feeding me information literally on a daily basis, uh, so much so that I can't really follow all the leads, but certainly the information that interests me, I do follow up on. and I'm still actively putting together a new PowerPoint presentation for a conference and doing a lot of these interviews. And I'll tell you, I learn a lot when I do these shows with people like you, Dave, because you have a great perspective too, being in this field as long as you have and talking to as many people as you've spoken to, that we can have that exchange of information. And some of the data points, some of the references that I put in my books are from sites that get taken down, that do have the wrath of censorship take them out, and even TED Talks. So, for example, there was a vortex based math TED Talk, and it is now the forbidden TED Talk. It's kind of hard to find it, but it's incredible information that gets into the nature of how free energy can be derived. So when I find these things and then see how hard they're being suppressed, that's to me another data point. That's like saying, okay, you got your eye over the target too, and you're taking a lot of flack. So that must mean you're getting pretty close to the truth.
Have you ever been presented with information, Brad, that is so far out there that there's no possible way it could be true, but you look into it anyways and you're like, holy cow, there might be something to this?
Oh yeah, I do. And certainly we have to have a BS meter and be able to discern. And a classic psyop is the flat earth. I don't ascribe to that. I've looked into the claims, but the fact is I've been around the world in one direction and came back to the same place. I've been to the southern Antarctic circle within 1 degree, and I've been to the far north of Norway to Trondheim. I've been up and down and all around, and I can tell you it's a round planet. And there are people that'll get mad at me for saying this, but this is my experience. And this is why I do believe that travel gives such a unique perspective. Another one is, oh, we never made it to the moon. Well, I actually met Buzz Aldrin. I met him at a travel show once and kind of tailed him around. This is an interesting story. I think you'll like this. Buzz Aldrin being the second man to walk on the moon. And at the time, I was just starting my research studies. I was still doing a lot of travel writing, but was very interested in these subjects. So I'm kind of tailing Buzz Aldrin for about an hour, and a lot of other people were too. And then finally, he's kind of like, who's this big tall guy walking behind me for the last hour? And finally, we had a moment to have a few words. And I said, it's a real honor to meet you, sir. And, he gets mad when people confront him about not going to the moon. There's actually some videos of Buzz Aldrin punching a guy out when they tried to get him to swear on a Bible on it. Well, I wasn't going to do that.
I still love that video. I still love that video, by the way.
Yeah, it's classic, man. The guy, he's got some panache, I'll tell you that. And he was down in Antarctica too, just a couple of years before I was, and had to get emergency evac out of there. And there's a lot of weird things about his trip to Antarctica, saying that we've seen the face of evil and we're all in trouble, paraphrasing a tweet that may or may not have been his. But so I asked him this question at this travel conference. After a little small talk, I said, is it true that on the return flight that you guys experienced orbs that were flying alongside the capsule and maybe even entered inside? And he just turned his head with a quick jerk, and he has these steely blue eyes, and he just kind of looked me in the eye. And there were other people listening, and I think maybe even a photographer or camera rolling. So he didn't say anything. He didn't confirm, he didn't deny. But by the look of it, he was telling me that they had seen something completely unexplained, and he didn't want to talk about it. But that's one of the things when you actually meet someone face to face, you can kind of get a feel for them. And even if words aren't spoken, such as in this circumstance, I do feel like he communicated to me, how did you know that? And why are you bringing it up? And I don't really want to answer that question. So I do believe they went to the moon, but when they were going around the dark side, and I have some of the transcript of the first Apollo mission that landed on the moon back in 1969. I'm not sure if you know this, but if you were a ham radio operator, there were certain channels you could listen to, and one of them was the direct feed between NASA and the astronauts. And some of those direct feeds have been recorded, including the transcripts, and they were speaking in code. And when they saw something of an extraterrestrial nature, they would call it Santa Claus. So they were speaking in a way that they knew that some people would be listening in, and they were. So they would speak in terms of Santa Claus. And Neil Armstrong, famous for saying, Houston, can you hear us? We see them. They're huge. We see Santa Claus. So I think they were witnessing some of the constructions on the far side of the moon. And it's also known that when they were landed, there were some craft that came and landed on the outside of the rim of Tranquility Bay and were watching the astronauts the whole time. So they must have been pretty darn spooked on the whole trip. And then when the orbs came by the capsule on the return trip, must have really put them over the top. And if you see the faces that they have when they get back, not only from the time they splashed down and they were getting pulled out of the capsule in the ocean, but their first press conferences, I mean, they look like they've just seen a ghost. They just have this look on their face like they're spooked, rather than being rather proud of one of the greatest achievements in modern history. So it's things like that, Dave. When you put together the data points and have an experience like meeting Buzz Aldrin and getting to ask him a question like that, to me, it's a way of canceling out the whole notion that we didn't go to the moon. That not only have we not gone to the moon, but there were others who have been there before and after that we're just not told about. I think when history is truly told for what it is, we'll find that actually the Germans under Nazi Germany, probably in the 1930s, made it to the moon. They had craft that were, well, talk about spaced out radio, out of this world, that did go missing after World War II. And then that ties in the whole mystery of South America as well as Antarctica and what happened to these scientists and all the material. And then also what happened in the Battle of High Jump with Admiral Byrd being confronted with an enemy that could fly pole to pole at incredible speeds, as he told a Chilean journalist on the return trip after 2 months into a 6-month expedition. So there was something that happened there when they went down to confront this area of New Schwabenland where the Nazis had set up Base 211. It's also been called the New Berlin Base. But it's not just Antarctica. They had their Nazis who were here in Project Paperclip that were brought over here after the war. And there were also quite a few sightings of escaped Nazis in South America. And when I was there 2 years ago, one of my goals was to follow the trail. There's a great show on History Channel, 3 seasons, called Hunting Hitler. Most of it takes place in South America. And I went to a lot of those locations. I'll tell you, Dave, you go into some of these towns, it's like you're in Bavaria in Germany, which I've been to many times, Bariloche in Argentina, as well as La Falda up in the hills above Cordoba. So I was talking to my friend David Atcher Childress a few months ago when I was out in Arizona. He's on Ancient Aliens, as I said. And we're talking about this region of Cordoba. And I told him, oh, yeah, David, after we toured the Eden Hotel, we went and camped out and we're keeping an eye on this mountain where there are all these UFO sightings. And I was even reading in my Lonely Planet book, was even talking about abductions and all this UFO stuff. I mean, well, Brad, you know, Cordoba was this industrial powerhouse after the war. They got all this money from World War II that they looted out of there. And he was saying that those UFO sightings were actually Nazi craft, that they had an underground base near there and were doing their backward engineering work. So it wasn't just in New Schwabenland in Antarctica, but when you say the Fourth Reich in America, don't forget South America too, because they were very much part of that whole scene. Martin Bormann, the money man, he kept popping up all over the place in the 1950s. He was the number 2 guy at the end of World War II. You know, there is looted gold and priceless artifacts, including artwork, that has still never been recovered after World War II. In fact, they were finding it in salt mines. I have a picture in my new book, and Beyond Esoteric, Impressionist painting from Manet that was in one of the salt mines near Salzburg that the Allies found. So this is what I mean by esoteric subjects as it pertains to history. So much has been edited out or distorted, it's hard to get a clear picture. But when you start putting these data points together, a new version of history starts to emerge.
Mm-hmm. We have about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Brad Olsen is our guest tonight, talking esoterics on Spaced Out Radio. From the moon to Antarctica, what do you think's going on Antarctica right now?
Well, right now it is high season. I don't think there's many tourist boats going there because of COVID. It was just hard to get down there. But this would have been the time to go, and this was the time I was coming back. So it's kind of the tail end of this 2.5-month window when you can go down there fairly comfortably. I mean, it's still a frozen continent. It's 99% ice. And there's more tourists down there than there are scientists. They're going to clear out their bases probably by the end of March. And then it just goes into a couple bases that are manned throughout the year. And get this, Dave, Antarctica is the 5th largest continent in the world. And at the end of March, going into their winter, there's only 1,000 people on the entire continent. You know, you think of the Earth as being so overpopulated and people everywhere, and in some places it is. But then you have this 5th largest continent and only 1,000 people down there. So it's a land of great stark contrasts. And if you want to get into what may be under the ice, be happy to talk about that in the next segment.
I'm just thinking about being around 1,000 people on an entire continent. You know how heavenly that sounds? Honestly, that sounds incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm daydreaming now. I am daydreaming.
You'd miss the creature comforts.
I got penguins. That's all I need is penguins.
Try 4 months of total darkness, though.
I live in Canada, man. It already happens. It already happens. I'm okay with the dark. You know, I'll just play a lot of Sound of Silence by Disturbed. I mean, this sounds perfect. Do I have to bring my family? That's all I need to know.
No, and if you wanted to apply for a job, Canada has bases down there. So does the U.S. Now, in the U.S., it's not military, and this is one of the misconceptions. There is no real military presence. They'll bring in supplies and they'll do things, but per the Antarctica Treaty, you cannot test nuclear bombs. You can't do war exercises. It is a land that's preserved like a giant biosphere for the whole world, and it is open per the treaty to tourism. You are allowed to go down there and travel.
Leave it right there, Brad, because we are going to escape here for a break at the top of the hour. Author Brad Olsen. BradOlsen.com is his website. We continue on with the esoteric thoughts of what's going on our prison planet here called Earth. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, my friend, I'm going to quickly run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
You bet.
The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the...
All right, buddy, I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, our good buddy Eric with a K, the Awakening Man, is listening in. You know, we are officially his 4th favorite show.
4th?
We're number 4.
I thought you were second a couple weeks ago.
No, we haven't been second for a couple of years. We dropped down to 5th at one point, but we moved our way back up to 4th. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's better than 40th.
Well, true. Very true. Pretty happy about being number 4. I know he's shaking his head right now. So shut up, Dave. Shut up.
Oh, he loves you.
Oh, yeah. He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Right.
He's too tall. He's too tall, though.
I'm a little taller than him.
Are you? Holy cow.
I'm really tall, too.
Still got people trickling on in here. Butch Witkowski's here, everyone. Make sure you wave to him. That way he can give you a dirty look. All right. Yeah, I can't wait for the conference circuit to open back up again.
little bit at a time.
All right, let's go here. Hey, Murray F., thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Along with Dolly, Steph Dickey, the gorgeous one out of Florida, Liliopatra, who's looking beautiful tonight, and the awesome cat chaser. Danny Schoen, welcome to our chat room for the first time. Proud you're here. Thank you. Oh, hey, Clam. How are you? The Desert Clam says the password. Nathan, enjoy work tonight. Thank you for tuning us in. And we're going to get going here in about 10 seconds. Remember, you could buy all your SOR swag at facebook.com/the SOR Vault. And yeah, here we go, guys.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kissed Vein. Kissed Vein is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight talking with Brad Olsen. BradOlsen.com is his website. He is one of the premier researchers and authors when it comes to everything esoteric. That's why you'll probably recognize his name from many television appearances, including Ancient Aliens. Brad, welcome back.
Hey, Dave. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me on the full 2.5 hours. It's quite an honor.
Oh, yeah, man. We like to do that around here every now and again. We're good that way. We're good that way. And you got great hair, too. So, I mean, we're never going to turn that down.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things in my intro, but hair rarely comes up. So good to get finally a little recognition there.
Well, we make the high-quality observations around here, my friend. That's how we do things around here. We're always watching, always looking. And, Brad, you are someone who has gained a very good reputation as an honest researcher in this world of the weird that we currently live in. Now, right before the break, we were talking about what's going on in Antarctica. And, you know, you were saying that there's only about 1,000 people there, and you don't believe anything weird or absurd is going on there, right?
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Dave. I think there are some weird and strange things going on. Well, so I went down with the sole intent purpose of investigating some of these claims we've heard. As far as I know, I'm the only researcher that's ever done that, to actually go there. And so everywhere I went, from the Yachts Club on New Year's Eve, talking to captains that have been sailing down there for many years, to going to the research stations and talking to some of the scientists and the workers, my questions were always the same. And that was, have you heard anything about antediluvian civilizations being under the ice? Pyramids poking through, any excavations going on? Giant craft. Apparently there are 3, and the nickname is Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. And I actually do believe I have pinpointed one of those, which happens to be in the claim of land of New Schwabenland, where the Germans were. And Dave, I was floored when I was going over maps of Antarctica before my trip, and I was looking at a Cold War era map from National Geographic that came out in the early 1980s. And my jaw nearly dropped when I saw that Western Germany had bases in Antarctica in the New Schwabenland region. And one of those bases is a seasonal base that's inland. It's called the Konen base, Konhen. And when I was doing some more digging, I found that on Google Earth, you can find some incredible things, especially in Antarctica. And many people do videos and shows and go through their latest findings. And while I believe that about 90% of those are just shadows or nothing really amounting to what is being claimed, some of them actually have some veracity. And the one that really caught my attention was this some kind of massive machine that was being uncovered in the year 2013. And when I did the GPS data points and looked at it on Google Earth, my jaw dropped once again to find that it was the Conan base, the inland base that is a seasonal base that they go out there in the summer months and they study this thing under the ice. And so the pictures on Google Earth show this massive, about a half mile across, with these perfect, like an old radiator motor edge, just these great big fins sticking up out of the ice. And you could tell that the snow had been kicked up. There was a runway. You can see snowmobile tracks, an outpost camp, and what looks like going down under the ice and perhaps entering into this machine. Well, when I was talking about collecting data points earlier in the show, one thing that struck me was when the remote viewers at the Farsight Institute, they used this Conan base and this craft under the ice as a target. And their remote viewers went down there and said, this is not a natural phenomenon. This is some kind of very ancient machine. It's very large. Apparently, the pilots had also been very tall, maybe like Anunnaki, just speculating there. But some kind of very tall race had built this craft. And in 2013, West Germany was doing an excavation. Now, if you go to those GPS coordinates, it looks like a giant circus tent had been erected over it, and you just see the top of the poles and the drifting snow around it. So you can't make it out like you used to. But I include these images in my presentation called The Hidden Anomalies of Antarctica. And I do believe this is one of those three massive crafts under the ice, Nina, Pinta, or Santa Maria. Other people that I've talked to on the conference circuit, such as Corey Good and Emery Smith, they have an idea where the other two are, which are more in Western Antarctica, as well as some under ice bases. Now, before you think, well, that's just a crazy idea, why would you ever want to put a base under the ice in frozen Antarctica? Well, yes, it's cold and inhospitable, but you have to understand Antarctica is the most volcanically active continent in the world. There's over 91 known volcanoes. So they would produce a lot of geothermal activity. What you get from that is a heat source. You can use it to heat up your own water. You can use it to warm your environment. And you also get large cavities that are created naturally from the geothermal heat. And in those cavities, we're talking many miles across and high, these giant domes. The main part of Antarctica is called the polar plateau. The ice is 2 miles thick. So just under Lake Vostok, you have one of the Great Lakes size. It's about the size of Lake Ontario under the ice in Antarctica. And it is not frozen. And there's a big dome over the top of it. The Russians were just able to penetrate through in 2012, but it was contaminated. They have to use kerosene to keep the drill from freezing up. So they punctured through, and they weren't able to get a clean sample in 2016. And when they did pull it up, they found a new form of bacteria that's never been discovered before, that they think had come off of a fish that also has not been discovered. So it's these places like under the ice in Antarctica or the deepest depths of the ocean, Dave, that are really the last great unexplored places on this planet. And to be down in Antarctica and get a glimpse, and we actually visited a big volcanic island called Deception Island, and it was steaming sand. Had the tide not been coming in, the water would have been warm enough to just strip down naked and jump in the hot spring there. So it's these little surprises that you get, and these data points and tidbits of information that tie together this bigger picture that indeed Antarctica is a location with some paranormal activity and sites. Another one is this giant no-fly zone right near the South Pole, not over the South Pole. That's the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. And they're doing some work there and experiments. That is a year-round base. And down there, it's 4 months of darkness. Right now, they're coming out of their 4 months of total daylight where the sun just spins around and around over the horizon. And then it's 2 months of twilight. And then it's 4 months of darkness, 2 months of twilight again. But just outside of there, maybe only 20, 30 miles from the South Pole, is this reported massive no-fly zone. And this is the presumed entrance to this underworld. Now, it could just be a hole in the ice, and for that reason alone would be very interesting. But you look at that on Google Earth, and they mask it out. And I found many examples of what they don't want you to see. It's kind of amazing because some things are really mind-blowing, such as finding this Conan base that they allow you to see. But other things, it's even really obvious. They don't even go to the trouble of trying to Photoshop it out. They just put a big white mask screen over it. But it's absolutely true that there is this no-fly zone near South Pole. And this is the same region that Admiral Byrd, who was also a pilot, said that he found and saw the gap, this massive hole, and it was so big that he was able to drop his plane into it with enough room to turn around and fly out. So there is something going on down under the ice. I'm convinced of that. And some of these people like Emery Smith and Corey Good have said that they have visited some of these inner corporate owned entities, these big cities which are actually using the geothermal features and creating a factory environment. And that is the reason why John Kerry was down there, our Secretary of State in 2016 during Election Day. You think he should have been in the States helping his party win the presidency, but no, he was down in Antarctica, and they landed at McMurdo Base, which is the largest base in Antarctica. It was run by the Americans. And then he split for a couple days. Nobody knows where he went, but then he came back to McMurdo and then flew out again. And it's assumed that he went to some of these under ice bases where some kind of controlling party was residing, and he was going then down to report what the world might be like with Trump as the president. So a lot of high strange stuff like that, Dave.
Right, Brad, I got to ask you, and I mean this with all due respect, with a lot of the falsehoods that have been put on people like Corey Good and Emery Smith over the years, and in my opinion only, they seem to be digging bigger and bigger holes for themselves on the trust level. How do we trust their research, like you were saying? I mean, you know them better than I do. I've never talked to the gentleman. I'm just going on what I've read and in talking to other people about it. But how do we trust their research when it just seems so fallible at times?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I cannot vouch for their veracity. I can just say that I'm using their names because they're the most outspoken about this particular aspect of underground under ice bases in Antarctica, and could be that they're making it up. I don't know.
Like
It's very difficult to travel.
No, I believe your travels. Don't get me wrong. I believe your travels. I believe that you're an honest worker when it comes to trying to get the facts out. But do you not think that it maybe hurts bringing your own credibility, bringing up their names to it, considering there's so much controversy and conspiracy around whether or not they're legit?
Well, sometimes you throw the baby out with the bathwater, and if that's the case, if they have fabricated one thing, yeah, maybe they are fabricating other things. I'm trying to find data points, so to speak.
Right.
And these are the few people who I've met who say they've been there, and some of the things that they say that they've done, I know that is what you would have to do to get to some of these locations. For example, going through Mactown is what the nickname of McMurdo. But other things, and maybe I shouldn't have brought them up by name, because there are a few other researchers such as Michael Sala and Linda Moulton Howe, and I speak on panels at Contacting the Desert with them on Antarctica, but they never have been there. See, this is part of the problem, Dave. So very few people have ever been down there. We saw the statistics of how many people go in a normal year, and this year is not a normal year, but only about 35,000 people can go per year. But then when you divide that by the whole world population, you're talking 0.00002% of all humanity has ever even been there. It's such a remote location. So I guess that's what gives rise to a lot of these conspiracies about what really might be going on there. So when I do meet people who give presentations and speak extensively and are in the media talking about these locations, well, my ears do perk up, and I do try to find similarities to things that I know about the place and whatnot. But I know what you're saying, that it's kind of hard to take someone for their word if you think they're discredited in other ways. But I'm just trying to find some good, reliable sources who have actually been down there, and that is very hard to find.
I know what you're talking about, and I'll give you an example, okay? And I know there's a lot of people out there who will roll their eyes when I say this because they've heard me say it numerous times before, but it's the same thing in the UFO field where we have, in the paranormal field, where we have all of these people who claim to be journalists, but they've never worked in journalism a day in their life. Yet we're supposed to treat them with some sort of respect because they've added a byline to their profile and lied about their credentials. I mean, that's the worry that I have, because when it comes to Antarctica being so unknown and very few truly know what's going on down there, whether there is something frivolous or there is something scientific or groundbreaking and earth-shattering, we need to get that proper information out rather than people who are just, making up things to make themselves look better and maybe get a little bit higher of a paycheck.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there have been certain circumstances where I've been able to disprove certain claims. For example, I don't know if you remember, but about 5 years ago, remember that Fitbit? It's a workout app that you can wear on your wrist, and you can have the app Strava, which I've used for workouts once in a while. Well, there was a big data dump of a Fitbit, and the only stories that really made it to the surface was, they're able to track our servicemen in Afghanistan, and now the snipers know where to shoot when they go out on their nightly jog outside the base. Well, what I found most interesting was the Fitbit data that came back from Antarctica. And to track some of those locations, what are people doing here? Well, I was able to talk to one of the few outfitters that'll take you anywhere on the continent. And in fact, with enough money, you can go just about anywhere if you know where you want to go. And they revealed a lot of uh, misnomers in this field for me. For example, one of the locations with a whole bunch of these Fitbits was this place called Union Glacier, and it's down along the Palmer Peninsula. And there are all these people like going into an airstrip and then going 3 miles away and circling around this certain area. And people were saying, oh, that must be an underground base. They're going there to visit. Well, when I was talking to this outfitter, they said, well, that's not it at all. Basically, what happens is that's our forward station. So when they fly out of Puentes Arenas, Chile, they land at the Union Glacier, and then depending on the weather to go farther inland, they may have to spend a few days there. And I said, well, what about this traveling a couple miles away and doing these loops around? They said, well, that was when we did this this marathon on the ice, and those were people just jogging. So sometimes you get a very simple explanation using the Occam's razor to figure this stuff out. Another one that they helped me to understand was what is known as this Great Pyramid in Antarctica. And it's in the Shackleton Range, kind of in the bottom part of Western Antarctica, but they say they fly by it all the time. They know it quite well. It's a very attractive, what they call nunatak, which means just a attractive mountain sticking out of the ice. And I said, well, what about the four sides and the symmetry? And well, nunataks can take many shapes and sizes. Well, they dismiss it as just a mountain. Well, you've got shows like Ancient Aliens who have done an entire episode about the pyramids of Antarctica. So I did have to say, well, did you guys ever go down there and investigate? Did you climb it? Did you take a sample? Did you make sure that the whole thing is just a rock mountain and not somehow fabricated? And they said, no, we've never stopped there. We just fly by it. So you get kind of conflicting information sometimes. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I guess we got to mount an expedition and go down there and see it for ourselves, Dave.
True enough. We have about a minute to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Author Brad Olsen is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Brad, how easy or how hard is it to actually be able to go to Antarctica to check this out for yourself?
Well, it's not really hard per se, but it is expensive. So you need some kind of budget to get down there. And if you want to go inland, the farther you want to go, the more it's going to cost. However, there are jobs down there, seasonal jobs. You can apply for them in our winter and go down there and work at a base for a couple months. And there's nowhere to spend money, so you just come back with a nice fat paycheck. I got a friend that's working in McMurdo right now and posting pictures all the time. And I learn a lot from him just as a grunt working on offloading planes. But it's a seasonal thing too. You have to go during their summer, which is our winter up here.
I could handle it. Lord knows with the cold temperatures up here right now, I could totally handle it. Nothing a good pair of boots and a warm jacket can't do. And a nice beard. Brad, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Brad Olsen is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You can find all of his books on Amazon. You can find them at major bookstores. BradOlsen.com is his website, so make sure you check him on out. We continue with Esoteric Talk right here on Spaced Out Radio, coming up after this. There we go. There we go. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Yeah, I apologize if I came across a little too crass about Corey Good and Emery there. I just, I just, how can I put it? I just don't get a good gut feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got something in the old microwave there, heating on up?
No, that was someone texting me saying, "You sound great."
Oh, if it wasn't Corey or Emery, I mean, geez, I'll be
Maybe not.
feeling like shit then, but... Oh. So anyways, YouTube, thank you, the Michael Leger, for coming on in. Good night, Butch Witkowski. Now you can go undo your robe. Ugh, scary. Anyways, move my station to Antarctica. Speaking of stations, so when I got into Vancouver, working at the radio station that I did in sports, there was a sports station that opened up called Team 1040. So today, Bell Media, who is one of the largest conglomerates in Canada for radio and television stations, decided to cut in on the morning show at 9 o'clock in the morning and tell every employee that they had 30 minutes to exit the building. They fired the entire staff and changed the format of the radio station. Then it brought in security guards to give each employee 30 minutes to clear out all of their personal belongings before being kicked out for good. And so literally about 10 good friends of mine today that I've known for almost 20 years plus got fired today, and they have no idea why. This comes, just so you know, this is where it gets a little bit more slimy. This comes a week and a half or a couple weeks after the Bell Let's Talk program that promotes talking about depression and anxiety in people. It's a very popular hashtag in Canada where people donate money to help fight mental illness. And it comes a few weeks after Bell also received a $122 million subsidiary from the Canadian federal government to help alleviate costs during COVID, which we're finding out that they used that money to give their suits a bunch of bonuses and to up the shareholders' intake. So a bunch of my buddies today lost their jobs in Vancouver. And, I was right around the corner when that radio station started, and I had a lot of good friends over there who are now unemployed, and it sucks. And, the worst part about it is, this is where it gets even worse. Bell actually just reported a $923 million fourth quarter profit. And they fired literally put about 25 people and their families out of work in Vancouver. They did it to two other stations, one in Winnipeg, four stations, Winnipeg, Hamilton, Ottawa, and Vancouver all got the axe today. So if you go on Twitter and look up Bell Media, it's trending, and bunch of my friends. By the way, the Vancouver station had, for TSN Radio, TSN 1040 was the name, had the number 2 audience in sports radio in Canada. Number 2. Behind Toronto, number 1. So, yeah. I am so glad I got out of radio when I did. So glad. Because it's becoming so corporate, and you, the listener, are the losers in the end. To some great broadcast voices and programming. It sucks, but yeah. So I'm a little testy on that tonight. Little testy. We got about 30 seconds, Brad. Big thank you to Murray, to Dolly, to Steph, to Liliopatra, and the awesome Cat Chaser for those amazing super chats here for tonight. And, of course, everybody who's given us a thumbs up and thumbs down. We really appreciate the love and support, and everybody new for hitting that subscribe button. We really, really appreciate all the help that you guys give us in promoting us. We're going to get going here in about 3 seconds. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We really appreciate you taking the time to tune us on in. We want to remind you that all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We have Brad Olsen on here, esoteric author. You can find all of his books at major bookstores and online at Amazon, as well as his website, bradolsen.com. You may recognize his name from appearances on television shows like Ancient Aliens. Brad, welcome back.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It's great to talk to you at this length of time. We can really get into some deep subjects here.
Let's get into some aliens here. We need some aliens. You know, there's been a big push, Brad, over the last couple of years in regards to, you know, the disclosure movement and whether or not we're getting closer to disclosure or whether we're getting closer to a confirmation. And yet, you know, from the governmental side and the media side of things, we've really had to segregate the difference between UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Is this a fair comparison, or are we just trying to segregate the subject because humanity may not be ready for our alien friends just yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. But you got to think, for the longest time, we have been on the fringe talking about this subject, Dave. Then you get those Navy videos that came out a couple years ago. Now you got the CIA doing a big data dump on their vault site. And I think we've been vindicated. I really do. I think all the while that we've been called all these names, finally, this information is starting to be understood by a wider audience, to the point where now we can have meaningful discussions about what it all means. As I said in the beginning of the show, this is one of the subjects that we should all endeavor to try to understand, because this could be the future of humanity if we're able to pull ourselves together and create a lasting peace on this world. You'd think that would be the prerequisite for joining with our space brothers and sisters out there, at least the benevolent ones. But to understand what even the malevolent ETs are all about, what their agenda is. And I don't really care what the shape of their heads are, to how big their eyes are, to if they got scales or skin, they're bipedal. It's really about, are they in service to others or are they in service to self? And you can make the argument that the ones who are in service to self are the malevolent ETs that have done the human abductions and the cattle mutilations for the most part, and are the ones who may, you know how we've always thought, Dave, or been told, oh, look to the skies, maybe we'll see a UFO up there. How about look under your feet? What about right here on this planet, the inner terrestrials, and perhaps they may have been here for quite a long time too. Then when you hear the accounts of some of these abilities that extraterrestrials have that they can phase in and out of our reality, that they're multidimensional, well, then that gives rise to the whole concept of an ultra-terrestrial that may be right in front of us in our face right now, but we can't see them because we're so locked in this third dimensional reality. So we're dealing with a very intricate and even convoluted subject matter that you can understand why it's been such a woo-woo subject for so long. But now that the governments of the world, those who have had the greatest incentive of all to keep this covered up, because they've been backward engineering technology and also exchanging for this stuff, that you can see how when this changes and when the information is given by those same governmental institutions that were tasked in keeping it all wrapped up, it's a total game changer. And it gives us the opportunity to start having a very meaningful discussion about what it is to have disclosure and contact.
Do you believe that, we have had extraterrestrial contact frequently with governments of our world? Or do you believe that the governments, in your case, the United States government, really doesn't have a clue of what's going on?
Oh, I think they've had meaningful contacts ever since, well, at least the Nazis. And I profile this in my book, Beyond Esoteric, the whole, the occult and fascism, and how they were using these mediums right after World War I, the Vril Society, these women who grew their hair very, very long. Sigrid was one of them, and Maria Orsich was another in the Vril Society. And they were mediums, they were channels, and they were getting such detailed telepathic information that they were able to put pen to paper and start creating blueprint drafts of free energy devices, of spacecraft, of other machinery that the engineers who then usurped the Vril Society into the Thule Society, or Tool Society, Thule, which Adolf Hitler and Himmler and Hermann Hesse were all members of. You got to understand, the Nazi Party had deep occult roots, and they were really interested in anything they could get that would give them an advantage in warfare. And that was their whole fighting philosophy, is that they knew that they were outnumbered with men, but if they could have this gain of function with their military and have the best trained men, the best militants, and these wonder weapons that created fear in the Allies in the waning months of World War II that they might unleash. Well, these were backward engineered technologies. And I said earlier in the show, when a lot of these scientists and the materiel went missing after World War II from this location in what is today Czech Republic called the Skoda Works, a lot of it went to South America and Antarctica, where the research continued. And the Fourth Reich in the Americas became like a third power. They didn't have a standing army anymore, but they had the intelligence apparatus. And indeed, some of their top spy masters, such as Reinhard Gehlen, well, he came over here to the U.S. to help us set up the CIA and spy on the Soviets. So we were totally infiltrated with this Nazi philosophy following World War II. And Werner von Braun, who was the rocket scientist who was creating the V1 and V2 rockets that were raining down on London at the end of the war. I mean, this guy should have been on war crime trials in Nuremberg with some of the others, but instead he comes here and he helps start NASA. Well, Werner von Braun made several trips to Antarctica, and because they were such high-ranking military and scientists in NASA, they were able to carry attaché cases. And Joseph Farrell outlines this in his book about the Fourth Reich. And so they were keeping things going and they were communicating amongst themselves. They became more of an intelligence third power, often fanning the flames of discontent between the two big superpowers, that being the Soviet bloc and the NATO bloc. So this is another aspect of history that has been edited out, and not a whole lot of people can see that they had this grip post World War II as well, including a lot of very high technology that they had originally extracted through extraterrestrial interactions, starting with the Vril Society and all the way up to the Anunnaki Society, which I profile these groups in my new book, Beyond Esoteric.
I want to ask you, because, I mean, for a lot of people, those claims that the Vril had got in touch with the aliens and that whole Nazi scheme with extraterrestrial contact, is there any proof out there, Brad, that states that, or how they got in contact with extraterrestrials, why the Nazi Party, why it kind of went that way? Because, I mean, look, the Nazis, I mean, even saying the word just absolutely, you know, I feel like I got hair in my mouth just having to use that term. But I mean, we seem to give a lot of credit to them that we don't really know. Now, we do know about Project Paperclip, that being true, where the Nazi scientists came over and literally built NASA. I mean, that's very truthful. But when it comes to ET contact, is there any written proof or other proof outside of that to prove the way that we have all been mentioning how it went down?
Well, you do have proof in the form of these occult secret societies that came out of Germany post World War I. And at the time, Germany was a very progressive nation. This is before the Nazi Party, which really only took power in 1933. So in the 1920s, when the Vril Society was quite active, they were creating a lot of these interactions with Aldebaran and some of the telepathic links that they had. And at that time, Germany could have been a very peaceful country. In fact, it was very progressive and very advanced, engineerily speaking, that they had some of the best engineers. And so it's been said that the Aldebaran, they favored the Germans because they did have this penchant for engineering and to be able to understand some of these blueprints and designs. In the Thule Society, they then were more concerned with control. And this is when things started to go towards the dark side. But the Nazis had been then allied with the Draco reptilians and the Orion Greys. So they were working with these groups, which are malevolent ETs. And this is probably part of the reasons why it went from very promising to a very dark thing. Then you have the Anunnaki Society, and they were mainly looking into ancestral roots, that they were doing excavations around the world. So like in the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, when you see the Nazis doing a dig in Egypt, yeah, they were there and they're digging it up and they're looking for these relics, such as the Spear of Destiny, which was reported to be the spear that pierced Jesus Christ when he was on the cross. That's gone missing. They got that out of the museum in Vienna, Austria, and it's believed they took it down to Antarctica. It's still yet to be recovered, like so many of these other artifacts and art pieces that have gone missing. So how do we know that they got ET technology? Well, they were working on craft, the Honeyboo and the Vril craft. There are blueprints, there's videos, and there's photographs of them. So how could they make this great leap? so fast within a decade or two. The U.S. still hadn't even gotten past propeller airplanes by the end of World War II. And they were developing jet engines and anti-gravity craft. I mean, the Germans were so much more advanced than the Allies were at the end of World War II. Had they had 6 more months and been able to roll out some of these wonder weapons, they were about ready to start doing nuclear testing. And they were already doing dry runs with some of their long-range airplanes that they could have nuked New York City had the war gone on another half year or a year. So we kind of got lucky there by getting them getting into Berlin, most especially the Soviets getting to Berlin. But there were reports of seeing craft over the great tank battle outside of Moscow in 1943, of using them as scout craft, not in battle, but UFO disc-like craft hovering over the great tank battles of Kursk, and being there on the spot with many people as witness to these craft being used and also being tested in the Skoda works. So when those things went missing, including this really mysterious device they developed called Die Glock, or the bell, then things get very interesting, because Die Glock was also a time machine. And then there's these reports that 40 years after World War II, Die Glock shows up in a field in Pennsylvania, and out pop all these Nazi scientists. Whether I know that's true or not, I can't verify that, but it's just interesting that Nazi scientists and Nazi officers are often reported as being on craft with gray or reptilian creatures, especially during abductions. And it took me a long time to put these data points together and say, well, how could that be? Why would they be a part of that? And maybe because they had an alliance that has spanned the decades.
Wouldn't they all be dead by now, though? I mean, seriously, these so-called Nazi guys that are allegedly on spacecraft, if they're still happening, wouldn't they all be like 100 years old by now? And
oh yeah,
not being able to do too much.
Sure. No, that generation for sure, unless of course they were time travelers. If they jump 40 years, then maybe not. This is a tough one to say, okay, I guarantee this is the way it is. I don't know that. I'm just telling you, this is sort of the common narrative of what happened with the Nazis post-World War II and their space program. I'm friends with, and I've spoken at conferences with Penny Bradley. In fact, she's going to be in Vegas for the 5D event, and I'm the moderator on the Super Soldier Secret Space Program panel that we're going to do. And she was in the Nachtwaffen. I've gotten a lot of information from Penny Bradley. She was one of the people recruited into this program as a child. So there is multi-generational people involved now, Dave. Of course, anyone who was born and fought in World War II, they're long gone. But there are their children and even grandchildren, some of which still abide by this doctrine and work towards the same goals.
We've got about 5 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Brad Olsen is our guest tonight. I want to kind of shift into from aliens to the secret space program, because this is something that absolutely intrigues me. This is something that I want to believe is happening, and I want it real bad, Brad, because I mean, just the thoughts of all these really cool toys that are up there flying, and we have no clue where they are, what they are, who made them, how they were made, where are they based. I mean, where did you start to find conclusive evidence for yourself convincing you that there was a secret space program?
Well, it was really Gary McKinnon Remember that guy in the
Yes.
UK? And he was like this savant type person, really good at computers. And so he hacked into the Johnson Space Center. It was the year 2000. And he got in there because he just wanted to find free energy to help old people heat their homes in the UK, and just started getting into deeper and deeper into the secret space program, to the point where he was going into the transfer data sheets. He would see non-terrestrial officers. He would see ships that had USSS, United States Spaceship, as their acronym. Some of them named after a couple of the original people on MJ-12, such as Hillenkotter and LeMay. And he was also looking at images of cigar-shaped craft that were backward engineered by the secret space program and being used. Well, as you know the story of Gary McKinnon, he was clamped down on real hard. And they caught him, and they tried to extradite him for many years to the U.S. Finally, the Home Secretary in the UK said, no, we're not giving him up. But not after a whole bunch of rock stars like David Gilmour of Pink Floyd and Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders and a few others did these big benefit concerts for Gary McKinnon, so he would have a defense fund to avoid extradition. So his story is, to me, very genuine. I found many confirming data points in what Gary McKinnon has reported. And the secret space program going back not just years, Dave, but decades. And since I've been going to conferences over the last 5 years, speaking to several of these people who have been on the 20 and back, that have been part of this secret space program. And I'm even considering publishing some of their books, such as Randy Kramer and Laura Eisenhower, who was recruited to be in some of the programs but got out of it, and others such as James Rink and Penny Bradley, as I mentioned. So taken together with these eyewitness accounts, and even some new comers on the scene, such as Michael Jaco, the former Navy SEAL, who does these YouTube videos that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. I had dinner with him a couple weeks ago, and I was on his show, and he's saying he's starting to have memories coming back of his time also going off planet. They have a way to swipe your memory, but it's not permanent, and many of these, they don't really like the name super soldier. They're more enhanced soldiers, are starting to remember their time off planet. And I just find it intriguing. I haven't done it, but I've talked to them, and many of them speak in the same way. And then I love watching them speak to each other. And they have their own jargon, and they know about certain off-planet bases and who goes where and who does what. And this to me is just fascinating, that this whole world could be existing concurrently with our own.
It's really, really big time peak woo for me on that, man. Peak woo for me. I mean, do you believe then, and maybe I'll get to this part after we get to the break, because I want to continue on this. This will go down a lot of different rabbit holes. But, Brad, how do you take a lot of this, and I say this with all due respect, how do you take a lot of this seriously with Randy Kramer or Laura Eisenhower?
Well, how do I take it seriously? I mean, I know these people personally, for one. Some of them don't have anything to sell or to just do but tell their story. And how do I take them seriously? I mean, how do we take any of this seriously, Dave? How do you take UFOs seriously? There are certain things that'll come to your attention that you'll find, hey, that's kind of interesting. That raises an eyebrow. Maybe that lines up with this other person who claims to be in the secret space program says.
Good drawback there, my friend. Hold on. We'll be back with Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next. Nice, solid comeback. Good one. All right, I'm going to be right back here. I'm just going to run my dogs out again. I'll be right back, okay?
Some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot.
There we go. All right, we're back. We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right. Tomorrow on the show, it's Science Bob and Friends with special guest Cheryl Costa. Be kind of cool. We always love having Science Bob on here. Hey, Troy SR71, how you doing? It's down to minus 22 Celsius, which is about, let's see, what's the temperature? About minus 7 Fahrenheit, minus 8 Fahrenheit, and it's cold. I'm not going to lie, it's cold out. And supposed to get to a high tomorrow of about minus 20 with a low of minus 31. Yes, I'm glad my furnace is working.
Balmy.
Very balmy. Very balmy. You know, the weird part about it is getting sunburnt in this cold. You know, this is so cold, Brad, that when it freezes the air so much that you could have a complete blue sky out and it will still snow.
Wow.
That's how cold it is.
A fun little experiment when it's super, super cold like that is get a glass of
hot water.
Boiling water. Yeah, and then throw it out in the cold and it just instantly turns to ice.
I know, it's awesome. Awesome. All right, my friend, we got like 5 seconds. Thank you to all our super chatters. Give us a thumbs up for the show. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you want to check out our archives, they are always free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Kissed Vein. Kissed Vein is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Brad Olsen. He is an award-winning author. You can find all of his books at major bookstores, as well as on Amazon, and his website, bradolsen.com. And right before the break, we started speaking about the secret space program. And, Brad, where are these craft located? They got to land somewhere. Where do you think they are?
Well, when I was talking about some of these large tracts of land that are mysteriously bought up around World War II and still not many people know who owns them or what goes on there. Down in South America, I could pinpoint a couple in Chile and Argentina. I don't think that the New Berlin base is in operation anymore. That is the base 211 that was set up with the New Schwabenland expedition. There is a little known nuclear testing program that took place in the 1950s called Project Argus. I profile it in Beyond Esoteric because the auspices of doing those nuclear tests were part of what's known as Alternative One, that these think tanks thought of these solutions for humanity, that we would blow a hole in the ozone and allow all the pollution to escape. But what they really did was create those holes in the ozone. That was Alternative One, according to the Brookings Institution. And then they were looking at Alternative Two, and that's burrowing underground and creating the deep underground military bases. And Alternative Three, which turned into a TV show in the UK that many people thought was real, much like our War of the Worlds on Halloween in the 1930s by Orson Welles. They did a show about Alternative Three, the brain drain of all these scientists in the UK going off planet to work. It turned out to be a parody but was it really? A lot of people thought it was real. So alternative one, which was Project Argus, and is still a top secret operation. A lot of the nuclear tests of the 1950s and beyond, they're all declassified, no real big secret there anymore. But this one still is. And the reason is they may have nuked the German base, that there was still part of the military that wanted to get revenge for the Battle of High Jump, where we were basically routed by a craft that came up and out of the ice. And they nuked the New Schwabenland area. So I don't think that they were there or had their craft there, that all those operations then moved to South America. So when you're asking where are the craft, well, here in North America, we have the notorious Area 51, and I've been out there many times, not just around Rachel, Nevada, where we go on Wednesday nights sometimes after I do a conference and hang out to watch the night sky, and you'd be amazed that we do see some activity. But I've also been in towards Area 54, where Charles Hall says that he was stationed and encountered the tall whites with an ET base right there in the Nellis Air Force Range. Well, since Area 51 got so much attention, and ever since Bob Lazar was taking people out there to watch the tests on Wednesday night, they've not only taken up the land, the place called Freedom Ridge, they've now made that illegal to go up there, and you could see down over into Area 51. You can't do that anymore. But a lot of the experimental craft, as I understand, has moved to Dugway, Utah, and that's where they're doing their tests to this day. So when you ask where did the craft go, well, they're still around. They just move around sometimes. I'm sure where would Canada? Where do they test?
Oh,
their craft?
that would be up in Cold Lake, Alberta. And
Okay.
the test range there is, I believe, almost larger, if not the same size as Nellis Air Force Range, where Area 51 is located in Nevada. So there is some talk about that, because the more north you go, literally, the less people there are. Obviously, I do want to ask you, speaking of less people, but there's a lot of islands off of Alaska where people claim that there are a bunch of strange craft flying around there. Have you heard of anything about these islands in Alaska that are holding on to these potential SSP craft?
Yes, along the Aleutian Islands, there are many volcanoes. Volcanoes for extraterrestrials. I don't know about the secret space program, but Alaska is a huge state, as we know. A lot of place to hide technology, especially if you do an underground base. But most UFO sightings occur above or around volcanoes. And there is a legacy base. I call it a legacy base. Some of these older ET bases that are known, and I can name about a half a dozen, including Dulce, New Mexico. There's one in the Aleutian Islands, another in the Solomon Islands, where all kinds of UFO activity has been taking place for decades, along with abductions. And the one in the Solomon Islands, people are absolutely frightened. They see a craft and everybody goes running and hiding, because they know sometimes their tribes mates go missing and never come back. So there are places that are known to be extraterrestrial by nature. Another is Mount Shasta and Mount Adams, where I've been up to the Seaseti Ranch with James Gilliland, Dave, and I'll tell you, there's so much activity going in and around that volcanic mountain that it would just make your head spin. Night after night, it goes on. So for any of your listeners who have doubts that there is a lot going on in the sky, go down next summer and check out Seaseti Ranch, or go on a hiking expedition up Mount Adams, and you may change your mind, because you'll have firsthand knowledge of seeing this stuff. And there is supposed to be a base in Yukon territory up in Canada, where some of the extraterrestrials that inhabit Mount Shasta, called Telos, have also established a base in the Yukon territory. I'm going to be in the upcoming episode on Ancient Aliens about Mount Shasta, talking about Telos. I've climbed Mount Shasta. I've been there. I was there last summer for a conference, and we saw lights up on that mountain. And this was where I had my very first UFO sightings, was over Crater Lake in Oregon, Southern Oregon, and then the exact same phenomenon over Mount Shasta only a few minutes later in 1997. And that kind of set me on this track, Dave. I think a lot of people in ufology will have a tip-off moment, something that gets them thinking about what this is all about. And well, for me, it's now led to 3 books in the Esoteric Series.
That's kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting. Do you believe that there are UFOs that are using our volcano systems as some sort of mining expedition or fuel stops for maybe they could transform the fuel on there? Because so many people have these sightings around what I like to call Volcano Row, which, you know, literally starts up in Alaska through the Yukon, British Columbia. I mean, the area, Brad, where I'm living on, it was created by volcanoes over 1 million years ago that are now dormant or dead or whatever they call it, you know. And, you know, we have buttes around here, much like Devil's Tower around here. I believe they're all tree stumps personally, but that's just me, you know, because I'm weird that way. But nonetheless, do you believe that these volcanoes or there's something special about them that attracts UFOs?
I think the things that you listed as a potential heat source, as a potential giant cavity. Volcanoes are known to have massive cavities on the inside. Did you know that there's a great big volcano right outside of Mexico City called Popocatépetl? Not saying that quite right, but it is the site of the most UFO sightings in the world. Literally millions of people in Mexico City have seen UFOs over this volcano. So prominent that people just post up every night and they got webcams going. You go down to Central America or South America, talk to the people about UFOs, such as around Lake Titicaca in Peru and Bolivia. They see UFOs there all the time, Dave. It's like second nature to them to talk about these subjects. They think we're the ones who have some kind of hang up about it, and we're the ones tripping, where they're saying, oh yeah, well, we watch them all the time. We see these cigar-shaped craft and disc-shaped craft go into Popocatépetl volcano, this giant active strata volcano that still erupts, and crafts are coming and going in the eruption. So either they're able to transition through matter as we know it and extract the energy or heat or power up from the volcanoes themselves, use it as a hiding place. That's their inner world. And then when you combine that with city of Telos under Mount Shasta and other locations that supposedly harbor very high-tech ET bases or civilizations, taken together, the common denominator is usually volcanoes. Therefore, we can't discount the fact that there's something about them that are attracting these craft and the pilots that fly them.
Do you believe then that when these craft come in, that maybe volcanoes or some sort of tracking source, much like what we call those pieces of art that are put into wheat fields and corn fields, you know?
The crop circles?
Crop circles. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Yeah, that's a whole chapter in my book, Future Esoteric. Look, there are faked crop circles, and they're very clumsy clumsily made, and they break the stalks. And Doug and Dave, I think, are the two hoaxers. Is, oh yeah, we do those crop circles. And then you have others that are so intricate where the stalks are not broken. They're intertwined within the stalks and just pressed down by some kind of force to create the patterns. Look, if anybody thinks that they could fake these crop circles, there is a bounty that still has not been collected for anybody that can reproduce the Galaxy Hill crop circle, which is over 200 concentric circles that appeared near Stonehenge about a decade ago. If anybody can reproduce that in the same manner of having the stalks intertwine and press down. And did you know that if you don't trample these crops that are intertwined like this, where the stalks are not broken, those stalks will not only grow back, but have a higher yield of whatever crop that they were growing, that they're somehow impressed and supercharged. Other things like compasses going haywire or flying over a freshly matted crop circle, and the instruments aboard a plane also spinning around and not working. There is a whole field of study surrounding crop circles, and perhaps we could do a whole show talking about them, because the intricacies of how they're created and the sighting of orbs, just like the Apollo 11 astronauts may have seen leaving the moon. These illuminating orbs have been captured on film, creating crop circles. And Patty Greer has a whole series of movies where she has some of these videos where you just see these orbs just making no sounds, but just zipping around a crop circle field, and then boom, the pattern emerges within seconds. A minute might be long for some of these crop circles to be made. It's just extraordinary. And so obviously we're talking about some kind of technology that we don't quite understand. The messages in the crop circles are very profound, that they may be giving us some clues, maybe even blueprints, how to create our own free energy machine. And sometimes even outright messages themselves with the crop patterns themselves, mimicking our space probe on, was it the Viking Explorer, when we put a little code, this is us humans here on Earth, and this is who we are. And a crop circle came back with a couple nuances, with a bigger head alien and more strands of DNA. Say, this is who we are. So they're taking our information and giving it back to us. I have pictures of that in Future Esoteric in that chapter. It's just really mind-blowing stuff, just right up there with UFOs and studying exopolitics, with some of the coolest subjects, I think, pertaining to ufology.
Brad, I got to ask you, Dr. Michael Salla, who is very controversial in this field, but he has done what I think is great research into the possibility of the Greada Treaty. This is, for people who do not know, an alleged treaty back in the early 1950s that allegedly had then President Eisenhower sign a deal with extraterrestrials, trading humans for technology.
Yeah.
Have you looked into this? And if so, what's your opinion on this?
Oh, I sure have looked into it, and it's in my new book, Beyond Esoteric. And I know Dr. Salla very well. He's a colleague of mine. He even wrote a blurb for Beyond Esoteric. And we trade information, most especially about Antarctica. The Greada Treaty is very real and has been this technology exchange with the U.S. government for several decades. And on the cover of my book, Beyond Esoteric, I have a illustration of the yellow cube, which is this device which can look at the past with very exact clarity, maybe tied into the Akashic records as a way of tapping into the history as we know it. And this was demonstrated in front of the generals in 1964 in this technology exchange. So I'm really glad that Michael Salla has got into this, because there is quite a bit of evidence that this Greada Treaty is every decade on the fourth year of the decade, 64, 74, 84, 94. And each time it's another exchange of technology for them being able to abduct humans, do the cattle mutilations without us really having any repercussions fighting back, which is totally wrong. I do believe that the Greada Treaty is null and void because the people of Earth are unaware of it. It's been used without our agreement. So they're breaking the whole notion of free will, that people would be abducted to do this. And so you got to ask, what were these technology exchanges all about? And this is when we get into backward engineering, taking devices and having our scientists try to take them apart, put them back together again, and then knowing how the science works and then utilizing it in our own craft. And so this is what many of the secret space program crafts were predicated on, these designs that were backward engineered by our scientists, many of which operate out of Los Alamos in New Mexico, which also has a massive underground base there too. In fact, there's only one sign in English in Dulce, New Mexico underground base, and it says to Los Alamos, where they have the Mach 2 underground trains that connect this whole network of DUMBs. And that's another fact that a lot of people don't know, is that these underground bases were built during the continuity of government in the Cold War era, and they just kept going and going and going. And they have these boring machines, it's called subterranes, rhymes with submarine, but they're nuclear powered, so they can literally vitrify the rock. They can burn it so hot as these things are moving along like a mole underground, but they produce no tailing mounds because they can literally vaporize the rock and mud and stone that they encounter and turn it into a glassy coating around the tube that they create. There are many stories, even up here in Northern California where I'm at, and I went to check out the one in Napa Valley up at the top of Oakville Grade, and I found where they entered with a subterrane, and it went in. There was reports of it coming through. I mean, these machines are massive. They're like 10 stories tall, and they had to take it up Oakville Grade Road, and it went in, Dave, and it never came out. And this is the story I've heard about the creation of a lot of these DUMBs. They'll go in and they just keep boring and boring, and they are nuclear powered, so they don't need to refuel and they don't have any debris coming out after it.
Amazing.
So it all kind of ties in a roundabout way, but there are similarities.
Brad, we have about 40 seconds left with you tonight. Thank you for coming on the show. Let everybody know where they can find your books and more information on you.
Sure, yeah. To check out my books and also to get a signed copy, go to cccpublishing.com. That's 3 C's and publishing, one word. You can also find out more about me and various projects I work on at bradolsen.com. And also I have a YouTube channel, CCC Publishing, and Esoteric Series, with a lot of the videos and the audiobook chapters that I produced when I was reading Modern Esoteric and Future Esoteric. And the new book, Beyond Esoteric, has just come out. You mentioned pick it up at a local bookstore. They can order it for you, or one of the big retailers. But we're trying to promote small bookstores, or
I don't blame you.
Come to our CCC Publishing website and pick up a copy.
Don't blame you. Brad, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. It's just a pleasure to have you back. We'll do it again soon. Coming up next, we're going to check the Magic 8 Ball. We're going to get to the news wire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. A jam-packed final half hour of the show coming up next. Good job, Brad.
All right. That was great, man.
We'll give you a few claps for that, man. We'll give you some claps.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate
really
you.
Fun talking with you again, Dave.
We'll do it again.
Wait 5 years and do it again.
No, we definitely won't, my friend. And I appreciate your honesty. I asked you a few tough questions there, and I appreciated your honesty and everything, man. And let's do this again. I had a lot of fun with you. Thank you.
Oh, you bet. And you're a great host, and really pleasure for me to have this talk with you again. And
man,
we got so much more we can talk about too.
We will. I'll let you get going, but thank you for your time, my friend.
All right. Well, you have a good night and stay warm up there in the Great White North.
Definitely. Take care, buddy.
You too. Yeah.
Bye. That was fun. This is a good time to remind all of you that this show is partially brought to you by our good friends Gary the Dutch and his wife from Mighty Moose Beard Oil. Go to mightymoosebeard.com. You can get yourself some really cool beard oil and swag. You don't even have to have a beard. This stuff's good for your hair. Let me show you how it works. You just, grab a bottle. I'm using the winter blend here. You take the drip bottle, you kind of drip it into your hands like so, and then you make sure you put the lid back on because you don't want to spill. No. That makes things messy. Then you just massage it into your hands and then massage it in. This is how I take care of my beard, just like this. Massage it in, and it's nice. It smells great. There's no chemicals. It's all natural. Gary the Dutchman does it all himself, and if you're American, the best part about it is it's all in Canadian dollars. So when you order, it's all in Canadian funds. Use promo code SOR2019 and look for the ladies. This is great for your hair. It's great for your hair. It helps replenish it, moisturize it, gets rid of split ends. That's why I rarely have any split ends in my hair. And my hair looks fantastic. I just put it in my hair and it feels great, smells great. And go to mightymoosebeard.com, check things out, and grab yourself a toque, a hat, or a t-shirt as well. Not beanies, because we have toques up here. And check it on out. mightymoosebeard.com is where you want to go to check out Gary the Dutchman's beard oil. And follow him on Twitter, Moose Oil, @Moose Oil. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Mike. How you doing, man? You just getting off shift? Where's little Marky Spender? Yeah. Look how good the beard looks. It's nice and shiny. Just perfect. Perfect. There you go. Hey, we got an update on Gorilla Glue Lady, by the way. Gonna warm up the Magic 8 Ball here. Get your questions ready for the Magic 8 Ball. If you're on Twitter, if you're in Spreaker, if you are in our YouTube chat, lubricated cooter gravel. Woo, it might. It might. Raul, so negative. So negative.
Quite affordable.
Thanks, UFO Not. Appreciate that. No, Dave will never coach youth hockey again. Dave's too pissed off to coach youth hockey. Four seconds. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, normally we try and do a few little new features here. We're going to start a new feature here tonight called the Magic 8 Ball. So in my hand, I have the Psychic Magic 8 Ball in my hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask this Magic 8 Ball some questions. We want to know what's the weird, what's the strange. I mean, this is so new, I don't even have a theme song for it yet because we're still in the rough edges of testing this Magic 8 Ball out. How accurate is it? So if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio and you want a question from the Magic 8 Ball, ask away because we're going to get into this. It has to be about woo, anything woo, and we're going to try and figure this out. So my first question to the Magic 8 Ball tonight is this. Can we trust Luis Elizondo that he is telling us the truth about UFOs? Because Luis has been going on a lot of podcasts, UFO channels, doing a lot of interviews lately, and he's been gracious enough with his time for a lot of us. And he'll be on this show on February 23rd. But the big thing is, will we be able to trust that he's going to help bring a proper disclosure to us? We need to know. We need to know. So we're going to shake up the Magic 8 Ball here. Oh, let's see what it has to say. And Magic 8 Ball, is Luis Elizondo going to help bring a proper disclosure to the UFO world and the world in general? Let's see what the Magic 8 Ball says. Here we go. All right, Magic 8 Ball says, levels are positive, people. Levels are positive. We got to trust the 8 Ball that Lou Elizondo is telling the truth. All right, let's get to some questions from our audience here. And we're going to start off with, let's see here, Kevin. And he is asking Dave and Magic 8 Ball, will the woo lead me to true love? Will the woo lead him to true love? Let's shake up the 8 Ball. See what she says. Magic 8 Ball says, oh, we got to turn it around here. Hold on. Because 8 Ball has a mind of its own. Oh, it's right on the cusp here. It's not wanting to give us an answer. There it is. Signs point to yes, Kevin. Signs point to yes. Your love life is going to be filled with woo in the near future. Thank you for your question. Let's get to another question from our audience here. Let's see here. Where are we? Questions are piling on in. And let's see. Troy is asking, will aliens secretly open an all-you-can-eat humans joint in Canada in 2021? My goodness, Troy. I don't want to be a part of that restaurant because I'm a meal. That's why I don't go in the ocean. I don't want to get eaten by aliens. Why would anybody want to get eaten by aliens? And I really think that alien cannibalism would be illegal. But we're going to ask the Magic 8 Ball here, will aliens secretly open an all-you-can-eat human joint in Canada in 2021? I think we're on the menu. What does the Magic 8 Ball say? Oh, it's not very descriptive on this one. It says, ask again later. Ask again later. All right, we continue on here. Fast Hemi has a question. Will UFOs reveal themselves? Ooh, that's a good question. Very good question. Will UFOs reveal themselves? Do we want them to reveal themselves? I mean, this is something that could be very, very intriguing if they do, because something or somehow, something has got to be flying them. Will UFOs reveal themselves? Magic 8 Ball, what is your answer for us as we shake it up here? Let's get an answer here. And we have all clear. I would say that's positive, that we're going to be on the way to these UFOs showing themselves off a little bit more. Let's go over to Twitter here. Derek, who loves his woo, I think he has the record for the most peak woo t-shirts that we have ever sold. Will Dave ever eat breakfast for dinner? I don't need the Magic 8 Ball to confirm for me this answer, which is going to be no. Magic 8 Ball, will Dave ever eat breakfast for dinner? Answer is, oh no. Oh no, this is so wrong. Intel looks good. Oh, this thing's broken. This thing's a liar. That's terrible. Can't trust the 8 Ball. Well, I'm sure we can on most of it, but it's definitely wrong on that one, because there is no way I'm eating breakfast for dinner. At all. At all. Just won't do it. Will not do it. All right. Let's get to another question here as we look to shake things up with the Magic 8 Ball. Putting our energy into it. We want positive answers, not breakfast for dinner type answers. Big Fat Creep is asking, do aliens believe in time? As our show starts to wind down. We do. Lord knows radio does. But do aliens believe in time? Let's get an answer here. Signs point to yes. Signs point to yes. I wonder if they're on our timeline or the Gregorian timeline. That's a big question. We got to figure that one out. Maybe another question for another day. Let's go over to Sovereign, who wants to ask the Magic 8 Ball. God, we need some theme music for this. Definitely need some theme music for the background. And he is asking, what good is disclosure if most human minds are warped on drugs? Well, I can't ask the Magic 8 Ball that. It's got to be like a yes-no question. So if you could rephrase that, we will get it in there. All right, Vinster is asking, will Corrence the booking guy's cats kill him in his sleep? Will Corrence the booking guy's cats kill him in his sleep? I hope not, because that puts a lot more work on my shoulders. What's the Magic 8 Ball say? Hold on. Magic 8 Ball says, no answer. You don't want to answer that, Magic 8 Ball? Let's give it a shake again. Oh, thank goodness. My sources say no. My sources say no. Oh, that's good. That's good. We're going to take a couple more questions here before we got to get to the SOR News Wire. And let's scroll on down here. Let's see here. Corrence is asking, will Dave take down his Coldplay posters that he has up in his bathroom if any of us come to his house? There are no Coldplay posters here, man. Come on. That's not even nice. Not even nice. Where do you get that from? Another question from Corns. Is Dave going to watch another soccer marathon like he did last weekend? See, that's fake news right there. That's fake news. There's no Coldplay posters. There's no soccer, and I do not drive a Prius. Definitely do not. All right, John is asking, will there ever be a time when Dave has to shave his beard? Let's ask the Magic 8 Ball. Am I going to shave my beard soon? Yes or no? The answer is... Come on, give me an answer. Oh, it could be yes, could be no. Come on. Out of fuel. We'll have to try later. See, even the Magic 8 Ball cannot predict when I'm going to shave my beard. Cannot even predict it. Let's see here. All right. Coldplay posters. Come on. All right, Sovereign is asking, are kangaroos portal hopping or are they being transported around by UFOs? Portal hopping? Yes or no? Magic 8 Ball says... If it wants to give me an answer. As I see it, yes. So kangaroos are officially being transported by aliens on UFOs through portals, courtesy of the Magic 8 Ball. Very nice question. Solid question. Right there. All right. And I think we will take one or two more here. All right, Grandmaster says, my question to the all-knowing Magic 8 Ball is, do the aliens have extensive bases and presence here on Earth? Good question. Magic 8 Ball. Let's ask a question here. Do the aliens have extensive bases and presence here on planet Earth? Let's get to this one right here. And the answer is... all systems go. That would be a yes. Magic 8 Ball believes there are alien bases, and the aliens are here. All right. Joseph is asking, are we going to go to war with the aliens soon? Oh, my goodness. Positive questions here, people. I don't think we're going to brawl with aliens here, but we'll check out the Magic 8 Ball. That's kind of what we do. It's kind of what we do. We'll check it on out right now. Here we go. And the answer is Magic 8 Ball. What do you say for us here? Infinitely yes. We're going to go to war with aliens. Isn't that nice? I'm sure we'll start it. And we got time for one more. One more question. This comes from G-Man. Will Mighty Moose beard oil make my beard softer? I think it will. Magic 8 Ball, what do you have to say about this? As I see it, it is yes. Yes, Mighty Moose beard oil will make your beard softer. We're going to try and play the Magic 8 Ball. We may try to do it maybe next week or something along those lines. But first, let's get to the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show. Where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the odd. Hey, guess what? If you're Canadian, you're loving this. A group of players attempting the Guinness World Record for the world's longest hockey game said they are contending with temperatures of minus 58 degrees Celsius. Yes, the participants in the world's longest hockey game in Strathcona County, Alberta, said they began February 4th and are aiming to play until 6 a.m. on the 15th when the game will have lasted 252 consecutive hours. The players say the extreme cold has added an extra challenge to the already demanding test of endurance. The first shot I took, my goalie stick just exploded. Other than that, we've gone through a dozen pucks. They keep shattering. There's shrapnel of pucks all over the place, said Andrew Buchanan. He said that the players have also found the furnaces in their trailers are breaking down due to the extreme cold. The players, who each take to the ice for 6 to 8 hour shifts before resting, are aimed to raise about $1.2 million for cancer research. Cancer is our number one killer in the fire service, so I'm here in honor of a few friends that have recently passed away, Buchanan stated. It's time to make a change, so that's why I'm here. The cold is nothing. What our coworkers go through is way worse than this. Well, this was funny. When Judge Roy Ferguson opened up virtual proceedings of the 394th Judicial District Court in Texas on Zoom, he was not expecting to see two lawyers and a kitten. The cute blue-eyed cat in the bottom right corner of the video was actually County Attorney Ron Ponton, covered by a filter. Ponton said his assistant was trying to fix the settings. He says, "I'm here. I'm live. I'm not a cat." "I could see that," said the judge. As the video went viral on social media, Ferguson wrote in a tweet, "Important Zoom tip. If a child used your computer before you join a virtual hearing, check the Zoom video options to be sure the filters are off." Now, the 69-year-old Ponton says that he was not sure how the filter appeared. "I logged into my secretary's computer to appear at this hearing via Zoom, and when everybody's ready, the judge calls the case, and everybody's face is supposed to pop up on Zoom. And everybody's face popped up except mine. Mine was a cat." The judge helped remove the filter and the hearing proceeded. He explained Judge Ferguson called it a fun moment. "Everyone involved handled it with dignity, and the filtered lawyer showed incredible grace," he said. All right. Now, remember we told you the other night about the lady with the Gorilla Glue hair? Well, the plot has thickened for Tessica Brown. She used super glue to set her hair because she ran out of hairspray and is looking at suing the product's manufacturer now. Her hair has remained in place for a month, while the product's label warns against using the glue on eyes, skin, or clothing. It does not specifically mention hair. So as of this morning, Brown has raised $14,000 in one day using a GoFundMe page with the initial goal of $1,500, but there is no indication what the money is going to be used for. Reports say she's planning on flying to L.A., where Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Michael Obeng has offered to end her dilemma for free. Obeng is used to medical-grade glue remover in a procedure that could take 3 days and normally costs about $12,500. Gorilla Glue, by the way, in a statement said, "We are very sorry to hear about the unfortunate incident that Ms. Brown experienced using our spray adhesive on her hair. The company emphasized its product is not indicated for use in or on hair, as it is considered permanent." You know, Miss Brown, I will say this. It was your fault to put Gorilla Glue in your hair. It wasn't Gorilla Glue's, so don't bother suing. You'll probably lose. Here's a cool one from the late Alex Trebek. Good Canadian kid. 14 suits, 58 dress shirts, 300 neckties, and various other items of clothing that once belonged to Trebek have been donated by the show and the Trebek family to the Doe Fund, an organization that provides paid work, housing, vocational training, continuing education, and comprehensive social services to underdeserved Americans with histories of addiction, homelessness, and incarceration. At the suggestion of Trebek's son Matthew, a supporter of the Doe Fund, the clothing will be distributed to those participating in the organization's Ready, Willing, and Able reentry program to be worn on job interviews. During his last day on set, Alex extolled the virtues of everyone opening up their hands and their hearts to those who are suffering, said Mike Richards, the executive producer of Jeopardy! Donating his wardrobe to those who are working to rebuild their lives is a perfect way to begin to honor his last request. The garments were packed up: 58 dress shirts, 14 suits, 300 neckties, 25 polo shirts, 14 sweaters, 9 sport coats, 9 pairs of dress shoes, 15 belts, 2 parkas, 3 pairs of dress slacks. Good for him, giving while he is gone. That is a legacy. And finally, if you want to visit the California town of Santa Maria Valley, they'll pay you $100 to come visit and stay. Yeah, they are providing $100 vouchers, which can be used in the town's wineries, breweries, restaurants, all in the name to try and get tourism going. It runs through March 31st. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on Facebook and Twitter, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as followed. What's your thoughts of us humans living on a prison planet? Anna, they're much nicer to us than we are to prisoners. If so, much more like a nursery, maybe an isolation area in the nursery for the naughty kids who haven't learned not to hit or bite yet. Marty, fear-based nonsense. Mark, more like a zoo. We tranquilize animals and lock them away. E.T. may be doing the same with us. Sometimes we let them go, sometimes we don't. Joseph, we did it with Australia, so who's to say someone wouldn't do it to us on a larger planetary scale? Anthony, my grandfather truly believed we were the Australia of our corner of the Milky Way. He said that explains all the different races and genetic variations. We used to debate for hours before his passing in 2009 about all things paranormal. Canadian Joe, I don't know about Prison Planet, but we are living in a feudal system. Uriah, how bad is the lockdown in Canada? Is the whole country locked down? Are you allowed to go anywhere? Doctor, church, grocery store, walk in the park? Little Richie G gets the final word on this tonight. He says, I'm not married, so I can't answer. Owie! Thank you for everyone participating in the abbreviated Thought of the Dave. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the abbreviated SOR Newswire. And, of course, everybody playing part in the Magic 8-Ball segment that we tested out tonight. Brad Olsen as well, for being just a wonderful guest. Go to his website, bradolsen.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and all the snarkers and snarkettes visiting us on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yes, we've got room for them too. Good night. That was fun. That was real fun. Good job. How did you guys like the Magic 8-Ball segment? We had to test that out. Let me just do a couple things here first. We had to test that out. I'm just curious, your thoughts on the Magic 8-Ball segment. Let's go like this. Move that there. Let's go here. That. Box this. Give me 2 seconds here, everyone. All right. So let's get to some serious stuff here. Do we like the Magic 8 Ball? Is that something you guys want to do? Should we continue that a little bit? Is that something you would want to do on a nightly basis? Or is that something you would want like every now and again? Kind of to split up the news, split everything up so that way it's a little bit shorter segments, but it's a little bit more audience interactive. You guys tell me. So every now and again, not every night. If you want every night, type in every night. If you want now and again, type now and again. Once a week? Okay. I'll have to find some music for it. All right. I did not like the fact that the Magic 8 Ball lied about breakfast for dinner. Did not like that at all. All right, so we'll do it every now and again, maybe once a week. We'll try for once a week. We'll just throw it in wherever we can. Just do it that way. I think it'll be fun. Something different. That already loaded? Oh, look at that. Very cool. We could definitely do that. That works for us. I'll find some cool music for it. Magic Monday 8 Ball. Oh, that's nice. Or we could do it for Woo Fridays. We could do it for Woo Fridays as well. You guys tell me. Carl came and said, Davey, you can fly the ship if you eat pancakes for dinner. You'd do it. Damn you, Jenny. Damn you. Why would you say that? You're probably right. I wouldn't like it, though. I'm going to have nightmares about eating breakfast for dinner now. Thanks, people. You really care. I can tell. Jenny. I thought we had mutual love here. I know you're sitting there laughing too, which is kind of hard for me right now. I do have to get going here a little bit sooner than I normally do because I got to call an old buddy of mine from my radio days, kind of talk about the shit that happened in Vancouver today. So I am going to be brief here tonight. I do apologize. I am trying to figure out ways to do that because I know a lot of you guys like chatting, and on our new website, if you guys we're still trying to figure it out, but there will be a chat room on our new website. The previous chat room was in the Space Travelers Club, but we'll figure that part out as we go on and kind of move it forward. But I do want to create an area where you guys can chat away after the show because I know a lot of you like to continue to chat. And the one thing I don't like about the entire YouTube process is how the chat ends. You know, it just kind of ends, and I know a lot of you maybe not ready for bed or maybe not ready to you know, maybe you're working all night, but you're bored or whatever. I want to try and figure something out about that. And yeah, there we go. And so but not everybody is on MeWe. So I mean, people could go there and check it on out if you want to sign up for MeWe. There's a page there. I'm going to be looking at probably putting something on the website, like the after hours chat room or something like that, that you guys could chat away. We'll figure that part out as it comes. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. I'm not a big Discord fan. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I think it's the worst program that's ever been invented for chat room facilities. Like I said, I kind of want to keep it on the website too, because that helps me out for the website, for time spent on there, for advertisement and everything. So let me figure that out, and kind of go from there, and go from there. So we'll make it happen one way or another, and kind of make things happen. We'll create our own little society and make it work. But I'll figure it out. Not a worries here, people. Not a worries. But thank you for everything. And I will chat with all of you guys tomorrow night. Science Bob and Friends with special guest Cheryl Costa. So I'm going to end this stream now. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.